What's going on, guys? It is October 6th, 2023, aka National Noodle Day. Whether it's macaroni, spaghetti, maybe you're a ravioli guy. I hope you go out there, have some nice pasta, get you a nice noodle. Shout out Noodles and Company for some of the best noodles they got out there. A couple birthday shout outs while we're at it. Shout out to Bronny James. Hope you're doing well, Bronny, after the whole cardiac arrest thing. We hope to see you play this year at USC. We're all rooting for you. Shout out to Jonathan Kaminga, the cum bucket out there in Golden State. Good young player. Uh, speaking of that nickname, also shout out Addison Ray. Hey, give me a call, Addison. We could make some great things happen over here. I'd love to see you. Um, Most importantly, though, as I say every Friday, the most important thing about today is it is the day after Thursday night football, and we had a pretty entertaining game last night. The score shows it was a 20-point game as the Bears knocked off the Commanders of a score by 40-20, but it was a lot more entertaining and close than what that score may represent there. Justin Fields had a really good game, but it was one of those things that as the game got closer to starting, you all kind of had that sense that it was going to be a Bears victory. A lot of goofy things happen on Thursday night football. I believe even on my episode earlier this week, I originally said I feel like the Commanders are going to win. Uh, I definitely felt a complete change of heart as the day went along. Um, Goofy things always happen on Thursday night football. It was the Part in My Take Bowl, obviously, as PFT's Commanders took on Big Cat's Bears, and the Bears got it done. Justin Fields was 15 of 29, 282 yards, four touchdowns, no interceptions. So, a round of applause for Justin Fields for being able to take care of the ball a lot better this week, and that's part of the reason they got the dub. Khalil Herbert had a decent game on the ground. He had 10 rushes for 76 yards. He got hurt, though. I believe every single Bears running back they possibly had got hurt. It seemed like they were struggling to get guys out there in the backfield. But the most important stat of note for the Bears is DJ Moore had 8 catches, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Um, that's remarkable. It's actually wild to look at these stats. Like it is the weirdest game on maybe not history, but it certainly screams like a Thursday night football game because the Bears only had three different players that caught a pass, and two of them were tight ends. Meanwhile, on the flip side for the Commanders, they only ran. Well, they ran the ball 10 times, but four of them were Sam Howell on scrambles. So they only had six true rushing plays called. Meanwhile, Sam Howell, 37 of 51, 388 yards, two touchdowns, and an interception. He completed a pass to, holy cow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different guys, which is a complete opposite of how Fields did it. Logan Thomas, the tight end, had a good game, 9 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown, while Curtis Samuel also had another good game at 6 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Um, Sam Howell is like a roller coaster. One week he looks like he's that guy, and the next week he doesn't look like he's that guy, and then he's going to come back to being that guy. And I don't know how much of that is with the coaches. Riverboat Ron is just kind of Ron now. He doesn't really have that riverboat mentality of going for things, being a little tricky. Um, I just can't believe they only tried to run the ball 6 times. It just doesn't really. I understand that they went down early pretty quickly, so they were kind of in comeback mode for most of the game. But you got to keep running the ball to instill those drives to make people commit to the run, so you can get more open in the pass. I just was kind of confused by their offensive game plan going into that one. Um, but like I said, the Bears came away the big winners here. It's their first win in 300 some days. Um, I guess I just congrats to Bears fans. I don't know, you guys still suck. Like, do you want to win? I mean, the Bears are in a weird spot where Justin Fields might be a great fantasy quarterback, but is he actually winning you games when it matters? Especially if you're in the number one pick range again this year, like they were last year. Do you still stick with him and try to find other pieces, or do you finally move on? Maybe grab a Caleb Williams type? I don't know. It's a real big question to ask. Um, I'm not really sure the best way the Bears should go about things, but they probably should take a look at their defense as well. Um, I just think they could use some overall improvement in a lot of spots, but there's a reason they only have one win. It was their first win in 300 some days. So, you know, maybe keep tanking a little bit more, Chicago. Don't play yourself out of some good players at the top of the draft. But I don't know if they'll intentionally be able to do that anyway. So, speaking about the NFL, I'm actually going to be joined by Clay Reimers, a good buddy of mine, and we're going to be talking a little bit of NFL here. We're going to do a little bit of NFL contenders versus pretenders, where we take a look at some of the teams in the league that are playing well, and he's going to let me know if he thinks that they're a true Super Bowl contender or if they're just a pretender. So, with the ability of editing magic, please welcome Clay Reimers. What's going on, guys? I'm joined by Clay Reimers, Dallas Cowboys super fan, and today's NFL expert, as we're going to be breaking down some NFL's pretenders versus contenders. I know it's a little bit early in the year. We're going into week 5, but we got to make some assumptions on if these guys can be Super Bowl contenders or if they're just pretenders so far in the season. And we're actually going to start with your favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to go contenders all the way. They have a defense that's capable of winning a Super Bowl, so I see them locking it down, maybe scoring some defensive touchdowns throughout the season.
There's been a lot of questions about Dak Prescott's ability to play the quarterback position. Do you think that he is going to be good enough to get them to and winning a Super Bowl?
A lot of questions, but we'll see. We'll see what the future takes us.
You can't forget Travion Diggs recently tore his ACL. Big loss in that secondary. Not a worry?
Javon Curse has stepped up his duties and playing well. Led the team in interceptions last year, so he's filling a role.
Yeah, Deron Blanchard really good for the Cowboys as well. Let's move on to the team that they play this week, the San Francisco 49ers. They have a couple questions. Is Brock Purdy really that guy? What do you think? Is that running game defense good enough to pass for them?
Well, I think so. I think Brock filling the role that he needs to do in a Kyle Shanahan offense. So looks good, has good weapons around him. So
Yeah, and what's your confidence that Christian McCaffrey is going to be able to stay healthy for the entire season?
I think he may get banged up just because of the workload over the season, but he's a good back and gets a lot of touches.
For sure, for sure. Moving on to another team that's had some explosive play from their running backs so far this season, and that is the Miami Dolphins. Put up 70 points on the Denver Broncos, only to give up 48 the following week to the Buffalo Bills. Are we thinking that offense is legit and they're contenders, or are they still pretenders?
I think they're contenders. They gotta sure some things up on the defensive end, get Jalen Ramsey back, and then we'll see. We'll see what if Tua can stay healthy. If he takes one shot to the head, I think he's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I definitely have that fear as well. But the thing I like the most about the Miami Dolphins, I think, is Mike McDaniel. I think he's been a great offensive mastermind so far for the Dolphins.
I agree. That's why I think they're a contender. I think they can go deep.
Let's jump back over to the NFC for the current leaders of the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. Not often we say that.
No, and that's why I'm going to take them as a pretender this time. I don't know if Jared Goff's capable of doing going all the way. Um, I think the division sucks this year, to be frank. So I don't see a team winning out of that division.
Yeah, Dan Campbell has the boys fired up. Take a look at that Detroit Lions team. They're really young. Amon-Ra St. Brown, only about his third year. You look at this incoming rookie class, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, even, Jameer Gibbs. They have the potential for a two-headed rushing attack. Just hasn't quite and got past the David Montgomery step yet.
Drives me crazy that they don't feed Jameer the ball enough. They took him in the first round, and he's a backup and doesn't get very many looks.
Yeah, it's always questionable to take a running back in round one, and even more so when it's a backup running back. Another team that we're going to talk about that is a cat team is the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going from Lions to Tigers there. I believe they're 1-3 thus far. They're not playing some great football. Joe Burrow's banged up. He's getting hit quite a bit. Do we have confidence in them to rebound?
Don't think so. I'm calling a pretender on the Bengals this year. Starting off the season this rough, it's hard to bounce back. Joey Burrow needs to get healthy, and I think that he may need to sit some games to get healthy. And while he sits, they're going to lose too many and potentially not even be in playoff contention by the end of the season.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks for the Bengals include the Cardinals and a bye. Do you think they should sit him out these next 2 weeks and have him coming off the bye a little bit healthier?
I think so. I mean, Cardinals are a sneaky team, but I don't know if you can get away with a win there without Joe Burrow playing. But I think it's smart to sit him, heal up a little bit, and then come back after the bye week and get some wins.
hmm Another interesting one we have here is the entire NFC South. We're not really sure who's going to come out of that division. It probably won't be the Panthers, but the Falcons are okay. The Saints are okay. The Buccaneers are okay. Do any of those three teams particularly call out to you more than the others, or are they just all kind of still grouped together?
I think I still group them together. The NFC South is a pretender. That division was trash last year, and they're going to be trash again this year. I don't see Baker going the mile in the playoffs. I just got to be a pretender, and I think the Bucks are the best one in that division. But it's going to be a dogfight for that playoff spot, and whoever gets it will have a home game, probably against my Cowboys in the first round. So we'll see.
Yeah, do you think that, the Atlanta Falcons are a team that maybe should look to make a quarterback change to help improve their odds? Desmond Ritter, a little bit of a slow start, had some turnovers over in London against the Jaguars. Matt Ryan's a guy that's still out there and is a free agent. Maybe they try to bring back Matty Ice and bring back some of the old Super Bowl vibes there.
I think you explore those options with Matt Ryan. People forget that he won the MVP one year. He's still a capable quarterback. But yeah, they need to draft someone, probably a quarterback. Depends on what pick they get. A lot of good quarterbacks coming out of college this year, so hopefully they can get their hands on a good one because I don't think Desmond Ritter's the answer.
Yeah, I feel that way as well. I think the Falcons are the most interesting team in the NFC South. And you think about, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They have some interesting offensive guys. Defensively, Jesse Bates is a stud. But when you can't really get the ball to your playmakers like that, it's going to set you back. And also, you look at, the New Orleans Saints in that division. They brought in Derek Carr, was supposed to, make sure that quarterback position was a little bit more secure there. I don't know if he's necessarily done that thus far.
Don't think so.
Yeah, the Saints are only one of three teams so far this year to not score more than 20 points in any of their games. But meanwhile, their defense is still top 10 in most metrics, so they haven't played completely awful in that far. And one of the teams the Saints actually beat were the Green Bay Packers. Do you think they are contenders or pretenders?
I think they're a pretender coming out of that same division. I don't think they have the firepower to get it done in the playoffs. A lot of question marks right now around Jordan Love. He has good games, he has bad games, but in the playoffs, you can't afford to have a bad game.
For sure, for sure. Then we move on to the Baltimore Ravens. They're a little bit more of a unique profile team, a lot more running than passing, a lot of good defense over there in Baltimore.
I think they're a contender. Lamar can prove it. Former MVP. Let him run. Get the ball in his hands. Got some weapons around him this year with Zay Flowers. And then OBJ should be coming back relatively soon. So also a Super Bowl champ. So get the ball in his hands. And I think they can do some damage in the playoffs with that roster.
Yeah, it looked like that Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham, as well as Rashad Bateman, were all practicing this week. They should all be good to go. It'll be interesting to see if they try to air that ball out a little bit more. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins was lost for the year, so they're kind of jumping between Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. And of course, they have maybe the second best tight end in football, Mark Andrews, over there in Baltimore.
Yeah, I would say so if he stays healthy.
They definitely could be a contender over there. And then the another good one we have the Seattle Seahawks, led by my guy Geno Smith. They looked real good the other night on Monday Night Football. 11 sacks on Daniel Jones. They really controlled the game on the ground. We know the ability they have in the air. Are they a contender or are they a pretender?
I think this might shock a lot of people, but I think I'm taking them as a contender this year. I think they can get it done in that division. Gino has proven himself to find a home in Seattle. And then DK's a beast. Get the ball in his hands, let him operate, and then you always got your old reliable Tyler Lockett. And the defense, yeah, they played pretty insane against the Giants, but yet again, it's the Giants O line. They got some problems to sort out themselves. But I think the Seahawks could make a run this year.
Yeah, I don't think we have to talk about the Giants as they're a clear pretender, but Seattle, like you said, I mean, I love watching them play. Between Kenneth Walker's ability to dictate the game on the ground, and then you look at all their receiving options. You touched on Metcalf and Lockett, but they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was a stud at Ohio State. Noah Fant obviously has looked really good the past couple weeks. Defensively, Jamal Adams is back. Tyreek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, one of maybe the best 1-2 corners in the league. Jordan Brooks, Jordan Hicks as well, both two good linebackers they have there. I like that Seattle team, and I agree with you. I think they are contenders. Jumping back over to the AFC, we have two other teams we haven't quite touched on yet, but I think we both know that they are going to be contenders, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Do one of those two teams stick out a little bit more than the other for you?
I gotta say I gotta go with the Chiefs. Proven it year after year. The only that prohibits them from doing it, I think, is Taylor Swift. If any midseason drama happens with her and Travis Kelce, I think their season is completely derailed. And you're looking at an early exit in the playoffs if a situation like that were to occur.
Yeah, not only that, they have a lot of wide receivers that are early in their career and have kind of struggled to find consistency thus far. Darius Tony, Sky Moore, they haven't really kind of locked down that number one receiver spot yet. I agree. So it's going to be interesting to see how they'll be able to fire off against, a team like Buffalo that has multitude of weapons. Think Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, both two very explosive guys.
Absolutely.
And of course, the last team, the team that the Chiefs beat in the Super Bowl last year, the team that looks to be on pace to win the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles. From a Cowboys fan, let's hear your thoughts.
I mean, they got a good roster. They've done a great job building around Jalen Hurts. It pains me. Nick Sirianni is disgusting. I hope they do horrible. Would love to see NFC Championship matchup, Eagles Cowboys. Would love to see that. Maybe Cowboys get a home game for that. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. Or we just go on the road and beat them down in Philly. That would be probably cooler.
So you've had a lot of teams that you view as contenders, a lot of teams you view as pretenders. So we sit here on the 10th or on the 5th of October. You had to give me a decisive opinion on who represents the NFC and who represents the AFC in the Super Bowl. Who are you going with?
I think my NFC pick at this time is got to be the 49ers. They've proven it, got a good defense. Their offensive artillery is loaded. Got to go with the Niners.
And for the AFC?
I think I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills this year. I think Josh Allen is on a new level. Keep the rock in his hands. I would like to see him slide a little bit more. He's been better this year, but we don't need a safety coming up and taking his head off. So he's got to stay healthy, keep getting the ball in Diggs' hands. I would love to see it Bills in the Super Bowl.
Well, I guess I'll throw one more little, wrinkle at you. We're looking at Week 18. The New York Jets are in a win to get in the playoff situation, and the bad man Aaron Rodgers comes back. The Jets, pretenders or contenders?
Pretenders, 100%. I think if you sub out Zach Wilson and put Aaron Rodgers in through these first few games, I think maybe you have one more win. Their roster is good, but not as good as people are saying and what they were saying preseason. Their offensive line struggles, and we knew that preseason. And I think even with Aaron Rodgers back there, they're still a pretender.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough time to be a Jets fan. I would have liked to see what Rodgers could have done for the team. But yeah, with Wilson back there, despite a good week last week against the Chiefs, I do have to agree that even if they are in a spot where he can come back, that they will still be pretenders. So that was our pre-week 5 NFL contenders versus pretenders. Thoughts on that? Clay, any closing remarks you'd like to make before we take off?
Cowboys were making a run deep into the playoffs. Hopefully, we beat the Eagles out for the division. Go Cowboys.
You heard him say it, boys. Go Cowboys. Once again, a big thanks to Clay for joining me for that segment. Moving on, we're going to go on to this weekend's best bets. We've been really good in college football the past couple weeks, and I promised you guys that I was going to come back with a great NFL slate. We've been struggling there, but I did the research, I plugged the numbers. I got 4 games down there that I really like, and I got 5 games for college football that I really like. The first one we're going to take is LSU minus 4.5. They're at Missouri this week. This is a classic example of a team with a better record, Missouri, versus a team with more talent, LSU. It's a classic correction game. If you watch college football, you've seen these for as long as they've been. It's forever, man, forever. They always, Vegas wants to incite people to go put, the Mizzou money line down. They're the undefeated team. They're at home. People are probably wondering, oh, they should absolutely win this game. LSU's 3-2. No, that's not how this works. A classic correction game. We're gonna take the LSU minus 4.5, and we're gonna feel real great about that. Mizzou has played decently well this year. They have a pretty good defense that were able to knock off K-State. I don't think that matters here. LSU's too talented, too fast. Uh, and I don't know how else to phrase it. It's just a classic correction game that we see every year in college. Another one we're going to take is Alabama money line minus 120. They're at Texas A&M. It's very rare you see this small of the Bama is minus one overall for the game, but it's very rare you see a spread that small for Alabama, especially against a non-ranked opponent. I understand they're on the road. Texas A&M can be a tough place to play, but last week Alabama finally established their offensive identity, I thought, and it was really just running the football, making sure to take care of it and be really aggressive on the ground. And they're finding a lot more success for Jalen Milroe's feet than with his ability to pass. And I think now that they have a better idea of what type of team they are going for, this is a great opportunity to make some money on Alabama. You got to trust Nick Saban. This is a game that just screams like Nick Saban, wins these. He is the GOAT college football coach for a reason. Yes, he's getting older. Some people like to think the game's beginning to pass him by. Absolutely not. This is a classic trust Saban game, and I don't know what else more to say besides trust Bama. Uh, this should be an easy one for them. The next one, I'm going to take Syracuse plus 9.5 at North Carolina. Some people will probably tell you to sprinkle the money line. I'm not going to go quite that far yet. I like having the points to play with here at plus 9.5. But I think North Carolina is a pretty overrated team. They're a solid team, but I think the fact they're led by Drake May kind of influences people about the entire team when it should just be how about the quarterback play. And I think Cuse's defense is going to be able to come through and kind of limit what North Carolina is going to be able to do. When you look at both of these two teams, especially on offense, they really strive on being able to convert on third down to keep drives alive. And that's going to be the crucial thing here for the Syracuse defense is to hold up North Carolina on third downs. They're the fourth best team in the country in converting those. Syracuse is great at pulling an upset every single year. Most of the time it's at home. They've kind of had Clemson's number here and there. I like this one a lot better than those games in the past. Like I said, Drake May's talents are overrating the rest of the team, and Syracuse is going to have a nice comeback here. I know they lost last week to Clemson, but this will be a big rebound game for them. Another one we're going to take is South Florida minus 3.5 at UAB. You guys know I took South Florida last week. They were a plus money dog and they cashed. South Florida is probably the most underappreciated team in the nation. We saw how good their defense was when they played Alabama earlier this year. I just don't understand. I understand it is an away game for them, so that kind of shifts lines a little bit. But UAB is a one-win team, and I just don't. I just think South Florida should easily be able to cover minus 3.5 here. UAB's never really done a ton this year to show a ton of confidence. And South Florida, man, I'm telling you, their defense might be one of the best defenses in the nation of a non-power five team. They're really sturdy down there. They really do a great job of shutting down the run. I like South Florida. I think they're well coached as well. If you watch that Alabama game earlier in this year, you know how talented they really are. I think they deserve a lot more respect on the betting lines, but we're going to keep riding them until they get that. And then lastly, I love my plus money dogs, or yeah, my plus money dogs, and we're gonna be barking again this week. Shout out Jake for all my dogs. Came out 6 a.m. today. Wyoming money line plus 175. They're at home against the 25th ranked Fresno State Bulldogs. I want Wyoming. I've watched a lot of games for them this year. They play tough at home. Wyoming's a tough place to play. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's a long travel. It's an interesting community. And man, they play hard nosed, aggressive football up there, as you would expect. This ain't no pretty boy football. We're going to break your nose. There's going to be some blood, some bruises football. And Fresno's offense has been pretty solid this year. Last week, though, they failed to cover against Nevada. That's a game I wish I would have got on. I was definitely looking at it. I think Nevada's been getting given way too many points uh, on the spread. They did end up covering. Wish I was on that one, but it really ultimately just showed me Fresno is not that good, and I have a lot of confidence that Wyoming is going to be able to get it done at home. Actually, of all nine of my picks that I have for you today, Wyoming is my only home team that I'm betting on. Um, I know that's a little bit intimidating. We're kind of the road warriors this week, but we're going to keep riding that into the NFL. The first one is a semi-fake home game, though, as I'm going to take the Bills -5.5. They are in London against the Jaguars. Some people argue London is the home of the Jaguars. I don't quite feel that same way. Uh, they had a nice win last week on Toy Story, on ESPN against the Falcons. Um, that was a good game, but the Falcons offense really hurt themselves more than the Jaguars defense did, and you're not going to see that same type of play from the Buffalo offense. They just have too many weapons that I don't know that Jacksonville is going to be able to slow down. Obviously, Josh Allen's a top two, top three quarterback in the entire NFL. He's super talented, has great arm strength, has great arm accuracy, and when you're working with guys like Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, that's a lot of speed on the outside. Stephon Diggs went absolutely crazy last week against the Dolphins. I think the Bills have finally hit their little stride after the little week one cough against the Jets. This should be a nice one for them. A lot of people seem to think the Jags will have a huge advantage here because they stayed in London for the week. They'll be equated to the time, all that stuff. I don't think that plays as big as a factor as many people do. I think if anything, the Jags will struggle more so missing their true home, their family, spending an extra week in I'm guessing, hotel. I don't think they probably have like an Airbnb for all the guys or something like that, but spending a week plus in a hotel in a foreign country, got to be careful not to lose your passport, got to have the right currency, all that stuff. I just think there's a lot more going on outside of football for Jacksonville that, for the short time that Buffalo will be there, that I think I trust them a lot. Another one we're going to take is the Houston Texans +2 at Atlanta. As I touched on the last one, the Atlanta Falcons offense hurt themselves more than the Jags defense did, and I don't think that offense is going to continue to play well again this week. The Texans offense, however, has been one of the more surprising offenses in the league thus far. CJ Stroud's been incredible. He's looking like a top 10 quarterback so far through the first four games. He's had a great connection with Nico Collins, who's looked like a real deal receiver. Obviously, Damian Pierce is a pretty solid running back. He's a pretty trustworthy running back as well. I'll take the +2 for the Texans. I think they could honestly pull off the upset in this game as well. Next one, we're moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs -4 at Minnesota. Minnesota got a big win last week. They finally have their first win on the year. I don't think it goes to two, as the Chiefs are just too talented for that. They did struggle at times against the Jets last week. That was kind of a game that I thought they might struggle in. The matchup against that Jets defense was a little tough. Obviously, a big primetime game as well. This one's not as tough. That Vikings defense isn't the same level the Jets is. They are pretty good at getting to the passer, especially Daniil Hunter, but the secondary isn't very good. And I think this will probably be the best game we've seen out of those young Kansas City receivers. Um, the Chiefs' offense, is a team that makes it really hard for you to bet against them. Anytime you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, it's really hard to want to fade those two guys. And so for that reason, we're not. I mean, I don't know why you would. I have a lot of faith in the Kansas City defense to get to Kirk Cousins. That Vikings O line is just beat the hell up, not very healthy. And when you got George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, those type of guys are going to get in his face, and then have guys like L'Jarius Sneed all over Justin Jefferson. Obviously, you can't truly stop Justin Jefferson. You can only hope to slow him down. But if you can get the Vikings in the red zone, they've struggled at times to convert that into points, and they've had some ugly red zone turnovers. The yards will happen for Jefferson. You just have to limit the scores for it. And then the last one I'm going to take is the Packers -1 at Vegas. That is the Monday Night Football game. If you watch the Vegas game against the Steelers, it looked like Vegas was actively trying to give that game away. I don't know how much they want to win this year. I think they're probably looking to tank to move up to get a different quarterback. I don't think Josh McDaniels really has a plan this year. I think he's still looking to get a lot more of his personnel in the door. Um, Obviously, it'll be fun to see Devontae Adams play against his old team. Not quite sure who's going to be the quarterback for the Raiders this week, if it's going to be Aiden O'Connell or if Jimmy Garoppolo will be back. I don't think it matters. Uh, if Jair Alexander's back for the Packers, he's going to obviously be on Devontae Adams. That will be a super fun battle between old teammates. But ultimately, that Packers offense, while it has been shaky at times, it will be good enough against a mediocre Vegas defense to get the job done. Christian Watson's back, which helps Jordan Love there. Then obviously you got guys like Romeo Dobbs as well as Jaden Reed, a bunch of guys that are they're fighting out there. I got to give them credit. I was kind of a little bit hesitant on the Packers going into this year. They're very young. They had just gotten rid of Aaron Rodgers. I didn't know what to expect from Jordan Love, especially when he was surrounded by a bunch of young skill players. Both his top two tight ends are rookies as well. Yeah, they've come out and they've all looked a bit more experienced than they actually are. And I'm going to continue to bet on that progression with the Packers -1 here. So to recap all nine of my picks, we have LSU -5.5 at Missouri. We have Bama money line -120 at Texas A&M. We have Syracuse +9.5 at North Carolina. We have South Florida -3.5 at UAB, and we have Wyoming money line +175 at home against Fresno. For the NFL, we have the Buffalo Bills -5.5 in London against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Houston Texans +2 at the Atlanta Falcons, the Kansas City Chiefs -4 at the Minnesota Vikings, as well as the Green Bay Packers -1 at the Las Vegas Raiders. And not only do we have those bets for you, but I'm also about to be joined here by Ty Poppy, the creator of the PP Poppy Parlay for UFC. We're going to break down a little bit of fights coming up here for Fight Night in Vegas, I believe it is. Grant Dawson versus Bobby King Green. So, like I said earlier, the magic of editing was going to have you meet Ty Poppy just like that. All right, we are here joined by the creator of the Poppy Parlay, otherwise known as the PP, Ty Poppy. We're here to give you our picks for this week. We have the PP, we have the big tickets, we have an exciting UFC Fight Night card coming up this weekend. It's a lot more fighting and action than it is on paper. I think we'll have some pretty entertaining fights, although maybe not the biggest names out there. The headliner, Grant Dawson versus Bobby King Green. Let's start with the PP, the Poppy Parlay. This week, it looks like it's going to be Alex Morono, Joe Pfeiffer, and Grant Dawson for a plus 274 overall parlay. What are you thinking?
The last two, yeah, I'm 2-0. The last two, this is free money. Go get it. Go put, a couple of units, 1 unit, 2 unit, whatever you're feeling. Let's break it down. Grant Dawson, Nebraska boy. Gotta cheer for him. Gotta root for him. He's gonna dominate Bobby Green. He's gonna just swarm him. He's gonna pin him against the fence. He's gonna beat the crap out of him. He's gonna take him down if he wants to. I think he's gonna do it on feet. I think he's gonna do a little bit of everything. Not sure if he'll get the finish, but I just think it's gonna be a domination. Kind of the same thing with Pfeiffer. Dude's just gonna swarm his opponent. Just gonna pin him against the fence, do whatever he wants with him, take him down if he wants to, and just kind of dominate. Now the risky one, Morono. Buckley. Morona is the dog, but he's won 4 of his last fight. Beat Tim Means in his last fight by sub. Beat Semmelsberger in the fight before. He lost to Ponzinibbio. But he's won 4 of his last 5. I think he's just gonna make this a decision fight. Joaquin, I think he's gonna be searching for that KO, and Morono's just gonna do what he does and just win by decision.
Yeah, that's definitely the most interesting leg of the parlay. Joaquin Buckley is a guy that has only had one win in his entire career, not come by knockout, and that was a decision victory against Abdullah Al-Zakra Hassan. I believe I might have messed up that name there. But I think your most interesting one there was a little bit was Joe Pyfer. I think that fight's going to be a lot closer than people think. I don't think he's quite got that wrestling game that you were thinking of going up against the fence and takedown. I think it's going to be a lot more of a hard hitting affair, and the fight's gonna end based on who knocks out the other. and I think it will also be Joe Pyfer. I really respect his power. I don't really respect his wrestling, is what it comes down to. I know he's got some pretty good grappling. He's been able to knock off Gerald Meerschaert in a grappling competition, which is obviously a big deal if you know about the ground game of GM3. So I have a lot of respect for him there. And then Grant Dawson, I agree that should be a pretty dominant one. It kind of transitions into my first big ticket, and that is Grant Dawson by sub at plus 130. If you guys have seen the Bobby King Green fight against Islam Makhachev, I think it's going to be very similar to how that fight went down. I think people are going to kind of be like, here we go, King time, like get fired up a little bit. Bobby Green's got that edge. He's got a little bit of, that the charisma around him, that street toughness. I don't think it's going to matter here. Street toughness doesn't matter when you're on your back. Islam was able to take him down and choke him out pretty quickly. I think we're going to see very similar from Grant Dawson. I was never super high on Grant Dawson, but his last fight changed my opinion for the better.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for me. Dawson in his last fight, complete domination. He looked amazing. Bobby Green, he's a great boxer, but and he's got some jiu-jitsu skills, no doubt, but he's more of a boxer. I just don't think he's got what it takes to do it. I don't know if talked to you about this, but I saw this video on Instagram of Bobby Green used to be on a show on MTV. Have you heard about
I
this?
believe Bully beat down with
Yeah,
Jason Mayhem Miller.
they just throw people in there and then win money if they could beat the bully, and he just beat the crap out of people. So I don't know. I think that's
Yeah,
pretty
that was
funny.
I loved watching Bully beat down. For those of you that are unaware, back in the day, Jason Mayhem Miller hosted a show called Bully Beatdown, where they would take in real life bullies and throw them in the octagon against trained MMA superstars to kind of give them a taste of their own medicine per se. And let me tell you, I think a more updated version of that, hosted by Sean Strickland, would bring in a lot of money. But obviously, that might also end in a lawsuit and potential death, as Sean might be. I mean, I can't say that. If you guys know anything about Jason Miller, he actually ended up in prison. It's probably lucky he never killed anyone. But wild season of tough with him and Bisbee. Bunch of weird stuff with him. Moving on. Uh, I agree though. Bobby King Green's a guy that's always game, always willing to step in the octagon. I was very sad to see him knock off Tony Ferguson in his last fight as a big Tony Ferguson guy, but I will say he looked relatively solid. He did get knocked down early on in the fight, but an eye poke may have changed things in his favor. I'm not trying to throw any shade there, but maybe a little bit of shade there. But yeah, I mean, Grant Dawson has some of the best wrestling in this division, and I never realized that until his last fight. He came up against another super strong wrestler, and I believe it was Guram Kutsaladze, and absolutely dominated him. I really thought Guram was going to take care of that fight relatively easily, and what I saw from Dawson absolutely surprised me there. And going back and kind of looking at what else he's done in his career, it makes a lot of sense why he was able to control it so well. And And then the last big ticket I have is Bill Algeo by KO slash submission plus 250 going against Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez is a guy that's had an interesting career thus far, full of highs and lows. About 4 or 5 years ago, he was a plus 800 underdog against Beneil Dariush and was able to get that victory. But he was also talking a lot of shit against a pretty old cowboy Cerrone and got beat up pretty handily in that fight. He's kind of been undecided what he's going to be doing. He's jumped around between 145, 155, and I believe he's even had one fight at 170. Um, he's not a bad overall fighter. I just don't know if I trust him enough, and I really like Bill Algeo. Bill came off a big win up in Fight Night, Kansas City against TJ Brown. I really like his power. I like his submission games. Morono has been, uh, or excuse me, not Moreno. Alexander Hernandez has been known to get swept up into submissions. He was semi recently choked out against Renato Moicano. I think Bill could do the same thing to him. Hernandez will have the size advantage in this fight, but I just think Bill is a lot more skilled of a fighter versus the aggressiveness of what you see out of Hernandez personally.
Yeah, I'm not as much familiar with Bill Algeo, but I know Alex Hernandez, like you talked about at the beginning of his career, he was kind of hyped up. He was definitely a big time prospect at one point in his career. The Cowboy Cerrone, kind of a meme. He got the crap beat out of him by the old man, and ever since then, he's kind of just not been the same. And but like you said, he's skilled. He has the potential to win a fight like this in this medium to low level fight. But I like your pick to pick Bill.
Yeah, like they say, don't mess with Bill. That's his walkout song when he comes out. Daniel Cormier, if you're on commentary, I better hear you singing, my boy. Don't mess with Bill. Don't mess with Bill. Submission KO prop bet. The two big tickets. Grant Dawson by plus 130. Bill Algeo by KO or submission plus 250. The PP a whopping total plus 274. Alex the Great White Morono, Joe Pfeiffer, and Grant KGB Dawson. You heard it here, guys. We're here to make you money, ride our picks, and we're going to get you as tough as we can get you. All right. It was awesome to be joined by Ty there. I think we had a really fun discussion with all that. Stay tuned for the beginning of next week. We filmed a video that's going to kind of stand alone on its own, a little bit of UFC Fact or Fiction, where we kind of break down some of the current storylines going around the entirety of the UFC. A lot of champions, a lot of big money fights with that. Um, I think it's going to be really fun to see how those bets progress for us over the weekend. I will certainly look into be watching. My Saturday should be relatively free. I hope. Nebraska plays tonight. It's a Friday night game. They're at Illinois. Kansas State also plays tonight. I believe they're at Oklahoma State. Those are two games that are on my radar that I'm excited to watch. It's gonna be kind of weird having a bye week this quote unquote for a Saturday. Usually I'm locked into Huskerland over there, so I'll be real drilled into my games I pick for you guys. Um, Hopefully next week we can have some more fun segments. Playoff baseball has been evolving as we've spoken already. The Phillies have already clinched their spot into the next round, as did the Twins, as did, oh man, who else clinched? I don't believe the Diamondbacks have clinched already. Like I said, I've not followed baseball as much as I probably should this year, but every highlight that I've seen come out of Philadelphia in these past two games has been absolutely electric. And if you don't like the Philadelphia Phillies, you're either a fan of another NL East team or you just don't like baseball because they are an absolutely electric factory down there in Philadelphia. I've commented many times on how much I like Bryce Harper, Nicholas Castellanos, but a guy that was kind of under my radar was Bryson Stotts. He's got a walk-up song that the entire stadium sings along to, and he came up with the bassist Juice the other night. The entire stadium is singing his song even after the music turns off, and he hits a first pitch grand slam. The crowd was absolutely electric. I'm it gave me goosebumps, man. I thought it was super entertaining to watch. I know they're playing the Braves in the next round. That will be an awesome battle. The Braves have guys like Albies, Acuna, really good pitchers like Spencer Strider. They have they're an electric factory over there with the type of guys they have. And it's an electric factory over there in Philadelphia, which means it's going to be a pure electricity in that game. I cannot wait. Um, Make sure you guys comment, subscribe, leave a like on this video, share it with your friends. I appreciate all the love and support that you guys give me. I would really love to actively grow this channel and hopefully get more people outside of my friends involved. I'd love to try to get some more analysts, athletes, something of that manner on our show. But it can't really happen without getting, more traction around there. I don't really know if my videos have transcended into search boxes quite yet outside of people that know me. So the more you can share it, get the likes up, get the views up, the more I think it's going to travel across the YouTube realm. And it's just a huge deal for me as, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I take great pride in putting these together every week for you guys. And it would make me feel great to see those view numbers come up. So I appreciate all you guys. I want you guys to remember to stay blessed and to have a great rest of your weekend. So